Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. Our guest is nominated for Producer of the Year for the Grammys, and along with LIZZO, Album, Record, and Song of the Year. We'll talk with Ricky Reed in just a sec, but first, Warm Audio is also wishing you a warm holiday season with discounts on select Warm Audio gear. This runs from now through December 31st, available at all kinds of participating dealers, like Sweetwater's, for instance. And also, Dave and I want to make sure you come to NAMM on Friday, January 17th in the Hilton Ballroom on the second floor. We're super excited to bring you Alex Tumay and Louis Bell, two of the most gifted, hottest guys in the game. Between them, we're talking Post Malone, Travis Scott, Drake, 21 Savage, Selena Gomez, and many more. We're also looking to add another super hot talent to the panel, and we will announce that very soon, so stay tuned. Afterwards, there'll be a meetup. You can hang, you can meet our guests, ask questions, take a flick, plus win awesome prizes from our good buds at Sweetwater, Warm Audio, and Auto-Tune. And if that's not enough, we've made arrangements with the folks at NAMM that you can get in for a huge discount. Go to the link, enter the code Pensado, and you can get in for $25, just $25. Hurry, 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 don't delay. This will go very quickly. That's Friday, January 17th, Hilton Ballroom on the second floor. We got stars, we got information, hangout, fun, and we've got prizes, and you need to be there. Sign up at our newsletter, hit like, subscribe, and click notify, and do it now. And before you meet Ricky Reed, here's some sound advice. Mitch Gallagher talks manual delays, and it's brought to you by Sweetwater.
Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Welcome to Sound Advice. Plugins are awesome for creating delay effects. They're so simple, they're so convenient to use. But if you really want to get creative with your delay type effects, get in there and edit things manually. Let's take a look at how to do it. Using a delay plugin can give us access to a lot of great effects. Very simple, just insert it on an aux and route your signal through it.
Here they stand.
But by using simple track editing techniques, we have a whole range of creative delay possibilities available to us. If we switch over to the edit screen, I've got a variety of tracks set up here doing different types of effects. At the top of our screen, we have our dry vocal.
Here they stand.
We could add a simple quarter note delay by copying that track, here it's labeled Q note, and simply sliding the audio over by the distance of a quarter note, as we see here. Now when we play this back,
Here they stand.
we get an echo effect. But we can get creative with this echo effect. For example, we could do a left-right delay and only have it come in on the last note of the phrase.
Here they stand.
If we don't want the long sustain, we can pull that back so it stops at the same time as the dry signal.
Here they stand.
It's a very different effect. Now you could do this using automation on a plugin, but it's so simple to do by simply creating a new track and editing the audio. We can also create doubling effects. For example, with track double 1 here, I simply slid the audio back by 40 milliseconds.
Here they stand.
By adjusting the volume between the two different tracks, we can create a very nice doubling effect. We can also go further. We could add a second double at, for example, half the distance and pan those right and left. So one's now at 20 milliseconds and one's at 40 milliseconds.
Here they stand.
Gives us a nice stereo effect. And again, we can balance the volumes to get the effect you want. If you want an even richer sound, we can add pitch shifting. On track 1, I've got the pitch up by 10 cents. On track 2, we've got it down by 10 cents.
Here they stand.
This creates a nice chorusing effect along with the doubling effect. But we have a vast array of effects that are available to us, only limited by our imagination. For example, what I've done down here at the bottom is created 6 tracks, and each one delays the signal by a 30-second note. So we have one 30-second note, then a 16th note, 3 30-second notes, and so on. And this creates a nice wash effect across our stereo field.
Here they stand.
So you hear all those staggered entrances and exits as the phrase ends. Now you could edit those so they more smoothly transition from one to the other. You could add a delay to each of those delayed tracks. You could add reverb to different ones, or maybe just to one of those tracks. You could also add pitch shifting processing to create a nice chorusing effect.
Here they stand.
This can give you choral effects, gang vocal effects. There's a lot of different things that are available here. Another example, we could accent just one syllable of a word with a delay. This is difficult to do in real time, and certainly you could do it with automation, but it's so simple to do it by just copying the track and editing. I hope this gives you an idea of some of the possibilities that are available by copying your tracks and then creatively editing them. You can really accent particular parts of a song or a phrase, and there are tons of creative effects available as you're working on your productions. Thanks for joining me for Sound Advice. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.
Man, his hot streak with Lizzo is as incredible as his own story. We're happy to welcome back the returning champion. He was on episode 323, the one, the only, Ricky Reed.
Hey,
dude, how are you?
What's up? Oh man, episode 323.
Yeah,
I'm so proud.
I think this one's like 445 or something. So,
wow.
And you know, hopefully we've evolved, and certainly you have, man.
Hopefully we all have.
As you sit here today, you're nominated for Producer of the Year, along with Lizzo. You've got album, song, Record of the Year nominations.
Right. A house full of babies.
House full of babies.
House full of babies.
Yeah.
Keeping sides trim. So,
hey, exactly. Trying to keep the gray minimized.
This may be a difficult question, but how do you think musically you've evolved since 100 some odd episodes before? Is there anything that has grown? Have you gotten better at stuff? Understanding pop craftsmanship? What?
I bought a drum machine.
Oh, nice. That's all it takes, folks. Buy a drum machine and good night.
Right. That's it.
Done.
Tip your waitress on the way out.
No, funny enough, I've kind of, I wanted to sort of kind of rein it in a little bit and bring it back to something that was small and tangible and kind of learn a new skill. I bought a drum machine. I'm taking Spanish lessons.
See,
and there's something that has been, I think, like with having kids and the world starting to feel everything feeling like big and existential and cloudy, and even all this great success, everything just feels kind of bigger than I can like feel and touch and understand sometimes.
Yeah.
So lately it's been making things small and tangible and learning some new skills.
It's a very interesting point, because amongst a couple things we'll talk about, one of the things that we have learned throughout our career and heard a lot from people who sit in the seat you're in is that simplicity really requires a certain kind of genius. It is almost easier to be more complex because you can just do lots of stuff. But that simple thing that resonates with people, that unlocks your artistry, that's a goal, and that requires compartmentalizing, clearing your head. Is that fair to say?
And being okay with cutting things loose that don't serve you. In a musical sense, in a production arrangement sense, but also like with having 3 kids, I've had to cut a lot out of my life. I've had to.
Thought just give them up for adoption or something.
With having 3 kids, I had to give them up so I could keep making records. Of course,
Man.
But I mean, it's also really been a theme, like trying to simplify and trying to work in a way where I don't end up harming myself and harming my family is a day-to-day, week-to-week challenge. This is very serious.
Herb talked about the simplicity on the Lizzo tune. You were given a demo, and that demo had a piano part in it. And of all the things you chose, well, you chose a couple other things, but you built a song around a 2-bar intro from the intro. That's all you used from the demo, except for the
intro of the intro.
The little extra things.
That's the piece you got from Telly.
Yes. Yeah, shout out to Telly, brilliant producer, musician.
But that's simplicity, and I think that's a gift that's very hard to get.
Thank you. I mean, when I heard that piece specifically, and a lot of music that I come across, like, it can be a very small piece of music, but it might have an emotion in it that's really rich. I really like emotional spaces that are hard to define, and a song can sort of burrow in and tease out all the magic in it. And to me, when I first heard that, I was like, oh, there's a whole attitude and feeling within this that is a whole song. Maybe that piano part is, 6 notes or something. But there is like all, pop music that I grew up on, there's a big idea in just a little piece of music.
But it's interesting the way you serve it. In the piece that you're talking about, even what you chose to do with the clap and having it set up that moment.
Right.
It was very specific. What you chose to keep that was sort of sound designy versus it's just interesting to watch those musical choices serving the greater good, which is really tapping into the emotional content inside of it. Fair?
Totally fair. I mean, it's really LIZZO. Like everything in that song is about being the sort of, whatever you want to call it, table dressing the art department, behind her.
You're well put.
And that, working with her specifically has taught me so much about how to really support a great singer, make room for a great singer. Even if we're talking about it in a technical way, her voice occupies a lot of frequencies, like the band
Fills
of
up the
her
room,
voice.
dude.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. So you don't need a lot, and you can do yourself a disservice by cluttering it up the track. And as you find more and more, like even singers that don't have larger than life voices like her, they all need to have that space so the listener can actually connect with them.
I know it's hard to, this is a difficult question because you're going to have to answer what you didn't put in, but how do you make space for something? Is that, for LIZZO, what do you remove? You just don't add it?
Yeah,
If you add it, what is it that you would tend to take out, like a pad or a?
Oh man, I'm mean to pads. Poor pads.
Pad abuser.
Yeah. No, totally. This is actually, this came up with an artist I was working with the other day. I'm always shutting down people with pads. It's like, we know what the chords are, like based on where the person is singing, where the bass line is going. Yeah. Other melodies, like we're forming the chord progression. We don't need to drop a verbed out sine wave pad in the middle of it just makes things, I don't know. It's like
what?
It's just
verbed out sine wave.
Sine wave pad. It's just like a big cloud on a in the middle of a sunny day. It's like why? But yeah, so I don't add a lot in the first place, but I try to be honest with myself about muting things and finding find different scenes. Like I like scene changes where not only from going from one section to the next will new things come in, but other things will go away. Sometimes even you have 3 sounds in part A, completely different 3 sounds in part B. Scene change. It's like the most exciting thing to me. I've been trying to do a lot more of that lately, which is very fun.
It speaks to a skill because it's difficult to self-edit. You kind of have to think in third person and say, let me take a look at this.
Right.
Sort of separate from what and determine if this works or doesn't work, correct?
Right.
And I think one of the things we try to push a lot is, and this is what's great about you, is these are things that are intuitive and feel and ear and gut. It's not what I found in a plugin, and it's not, let technology serve you. Don't serve it.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say though, I love to cruise around in plugins.
Oh no, I think
presets, big preset guy.
Yeah. Well, I think you embody how to utilize that and utilize your humanity.
Right.
So it comes together.
Right. Because there's so much magic to be found in there's countless stories about huge records made with stock drum loops from I think George Michael Freedom is the stock drum loop to Umbrella. There's
crazy.
There's I'd love thinking about the people who made that stuff somewhere in the garage band studio sessions or whatever. They're making these loops that we think of as generic and cruising through those and even finding magic or insanity within that stuff is it's just as fun as exotic instruments to me, to be totally frank.
Do you work in Pro Tools?
I do, yeah.
Got you. But you started that early.
Yeah, I started in Pro Tools when I was about 16. my band was recording with this guy in the Bay Area named Scott Yamas, and he would basically have me come in on the weekends and clean drums for like local punk bands. He would like have me clean the toms because none of us knew how to use gates or anything, and like edit, you know, if the performance wasn't great, to be like editing these like punk drummers, and I would just go in on Saturdays and Sundays and do that for like, you know, $50, $100 or whatever. So that basic sort of Pro Tools, like editing, like waveform editing universe, I've been doing it for 21 years. It's like it's my instrument. Hate to say it.
What are some of the advantages you find with collaboration? I said that very, very seriously.
Yeah.
You like collaborate?
Want to collaborate?
Yeah, collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, collaborating it's important on a few levels for me, because obviously collaborating brings in all kinds of variables, all kinds of chance situations you wouldn't have if you were by yourself.
Absolutely.
But also, at this point, you know, I have like a pretty incredible community of people around me, and it makes the wins sweeter. It makes the losses not hurt as bad. It's like collaborating. I think the people that I work with, we make better music than we would if we were on our own. But also, I just like having like a team of good people, fun people around. You know, we've been trying to not take any of this success for granted. And you know, when I was younger, I'd be like, oh yeah, we got to win, but we're still in the studio, like, you know, we're still working. Like trying to say, like, if you're not going to celebrate now, then when are you going to celebrate?
Don't put it
Take
off.
a minute, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And appreciate your community in this moment too.
And the people that go there with you and make it possible for you. You know, like it's important that those wins are shared, because there's a ton of people sacrificing. You know, we still, I don't know why we haven't done it. We're almost at episode 500, but for about 4 years, we've been wanting to do a round table on couples. People's work and show, because the sacrifice that the other person makes, whether it's male or female, is massive. And there's even a kind of creativity that they have to sort of maintain, so you can come home and complain about what you're going through.
Oh my God.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And it is super critical, and it's an art form in some ways that a lot of people don't know. And you know, we like to find those edges where you go, oh wow, nobody really articulated that. And even your growth as, you know, as a father with kids and all the success and stuff. And also, you know, people don't, maybe they do, but there's a large panoply of artists that you work with, you know, 21 Pilots, like there's, you know, Kesha, Bomba Estero. There's a lot of, you know, Ricky Reed stuff out there that's not down the thing. And I think that has to do with your inquisitiveness as an artist. You're not somebody who can just do this.
Yeah, I have a short attention span. Like it really, I love meeting people. I like meeting new people. I like making new friends. And yeah, I tend to find myself right when I'm finishing up a project wanting to do something very different. I'm sure you can relate to this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I work from a position of total encapsulating arrogance and crippling insecurities all in the same moment.
I can relate to that.
Makes for fascinating coffee.
Well, you know, going back to what you said earlier, I think the audience might benefit a little bit from reiterating this point. I think working alone for a creative person isn't always good. I think my team's probably twice as good as yours, but I have them around me, you know.
Right.
Nico, Jaime, Jackson. But there's something about that keeps you safe, particularly you're more comfortable on the edges, so you need a safety net crew sometimes, you know what I'm saying, around you. And I do too.
Right.
And I can tell by the look on their faces when I've crossed a line. But you know what? I'm going to change the subject. I just found out you did. I just found out you did Lunch Money Lewis, Bills.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that song.
Oh, thank
I
you.
didn't know you worked on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love him. We've chatted a minute. I still love to see him on the show. He's one of my
he's
favorites.
great. He's one of my favorite
Mom
people.
is a great song too.
Yes, he's one of my favorite people. We made all that music in a very short, very inspired little patch of time.
Really?
We didn't know what it was going to be, who it was going to. We thought it was going to be for somebody else. We were like writing for like Pitch, and he sung those tunes, and we were like, "This is you, man."
Records.
Yeah.
People don't know that his dad was who let the dogs out and owned Circle House in Miami for a while.
Yes. Inner Circle, right? Yeah. Bad Boys.
Yeah. Oh, Bad Boys. What you
Yeah.
doing? Yeah, that's what it
I
was.
was like,
Who
we
Let
can't
the
just let
Dogs
this
Out
hang.
was,
There we go.
Baja Men.
yeah.
You might get your behind whooped over that. So let's edit that.
No, please. Why start now?
As you came up, part of what you aspired to was a kind of rebellion, kind of an outsider perspective that I think is really cool and informing, because when you want to do something different or you kind of buck the system, you tend to find your own thing. And, sometimes when it works in a large scale.
Right.
The trick is, as you get older and more successful and the trappings come, not to lose that.
Yes.
Correct?
Right.
And you sort of have to fight to protect that space, yeah?
Yeah. So something I was actually talking to my therapist of all people about this the other day. We were talking about, I was like, it was after the Grammy announcements. And obviously that was just incredible day.
Yeah.
So thrilled and over the moon. So I was like, hey, therapist, I have like something actually nice to talk about. So we were talking about it. And as we're going through it, I started to realize that there was something really magical that has been happening since things started to click with Lizzo, not just the Grammys, but, before that, this really, really large scale validation of like, half a decade of quiet work she and I have been putting in together. And of course for her, her whole lifetime. But this thing that I had realized that was happening was that, when I'm in a slump, like any of us are work-wise, I tend to operate from a place of fear more. And operating from a place of fear for me means starting to move to the center a little bit, trying to do things that I think will connect, in more of a mainstream or pop way. It's like, lessening the risks. Also overextending myself, taking on too many projects. It's just sort of casting a wide net because I feel like I'm not having a moment and, like we all fear, like losing relevance, whatever, this or that. So the thing that I realized that in the middle of all these feelings of validation and success with where things have arrived with Lizzo, it's, whether I realize it or not, it's put me in a place where creatively I feel a lot more free than I even ever have. I'm taking risks like before I moved to LA. Like when I was doing clubs in Oakland and Berkeley and making very strange, quite unfriendly music.
Pre-LA Reid.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's something that now that I'm sort of starting to take a step back and look at that, I'm like, you know what? Whenever, things quiet down and I'm having that moment where I'm becoming fearful again, instead of going back to a place where I'm overextending and harming my family with my work schedule, I need to try to remember what this moment is, where I feel very inspired. I do what I want. I do only 1 or 2 albums at a time, and I feel great. And I'm with my kids more.
Can I give you credit for something?
Please. Sure.
Because I think this is a lesson to the audience. We talked about this off camera a little bit. The stigma of vulnerability or depression or PTSD, whatever it is, anxiety, used to be, and particularly for males, something you didn't talk about. You just kind of manned up and through it. I remember talking to a doctor once, and the doctor said to me, look, you can't control your brain chemistry. You can't do this and make it even up and so on and so forth. And like you have to address it and deal with it. And I always felt that you embody, and we had an Oscar winner on once who basically said, I know I'm at my best place for creativity when I start crying. And he had just won an Oscar for Mad Max 2 for sound design.
Wow.
And it was interesting. And you've embraced your vulnerability and allowed that to help your creativity. Is that fair to say? Talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, my wife is my mentor as far as naming things going on inside of me, being able to understand and just work with those kind of feelings. And she holds an incredible space for me in our home that, and it's, you know, like this, before having kids, before it was even all that crazy, she taught me so much about all this. And I realized that through what I've learned from her, it allows me to sort of create these spaces for artists where they feel like we can meet in a place of vulnerability, you know, like, and not all artists want to do that or are in a place where they need to do that, and that's fine. But I think that it could be my sort of number one tool as a producer is just creating a comfortable, vulnerable space. Yeah, like, and if you're not doing that, what are you doing? I hear stories from artists like about producers making them feel uncomfortable or uninspired, or it was like so awkward or something. I'm like, like your only job, like you have one job, and it's to make an artist feel good. And
the point I really want our audience to know is that accessing that, dealing with it, presenting an environment that works has turned into unbelievable success.
Right.
Like that's real.
That's very real.
Yeah.
And it's funny how we were talking about this off camera a little bit, how the stress and anxiety that you feel like is going to cripple you or slow you down, if you just let it rise up and you work through it and talk through it with people, you might find that it's actually is one of your greatest assets.
I'm going to throw my philosophizing. It feels to me like creative people, when they first start, they want to emulate their heroes. Then that morphs into doing that. And then you go through a period where you want to be anything but your hero. And then so you create from a position of not being something. And so when a musical form like, say, disco comes along, there's a group of people that come along to counter it by not being disco. And so some of the punk movement didn't last because it was trying to not be disco.
Right.
But the guys, then we all know who they are, the guys that lasted were actually trying to be something. And I think now, in your life and my life, I'm trying to be something, not trying to not be something. I tried to not be pop early in my career. I tried to not be these things. We both had a little bit of success, but the freedom of creating to create something is just wonderful. And that crosses, I think, all media, like writers, like poets, like music, painting. When an art movement comes along trying to be something, like, say, Impressionism comes along and tries to be a representation of light and movement, and then another one comes along just to not be anything, so you can have a weird red square on a piece of canvas. That's not going to last in the history of time. Mark my word.
I just painted that this morning. Where do you get inspiration from for songs? Does it come from anywhere, any place?
I mean, for a long time, my idea when I'm in with an artist has always been that you can only write today's song. And if you do that, you'll make something that's authentic. And if it's authentic, then it's great. So you'll make something great if you write today's song. And today's song for the artist might be bubbly and uplifting. It might be sad. It might be somewhere in the middle. That's what most of it is. But, you know, me and the writers I work with, the artists I work with, it always is sort of a good, hearty conversation before we really get into it. But also I've been interested a little bit more lately with kind of digging deeper lyrically and trying to tell some stories that are less surface level. I mean, I love a great, simple pop lyric, and I've done a lot of songs that are really built around that. But I've been interested lately in trying to push the narrative forward lyrically, even with somebody like, LIZZO. You know, our songs they do go through this whole story. There's almost a chronology going on lyrically, you know? And even though it is all sounds very conversational, it takes a while. It takes a lot of time and effort to really build something that is that visual.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's been something that I've been digging in more on lately. Actually, I see Leon on the monitor. I'm back in with him right now. It's the same thing where we're going all storytelling. It's great.
When we had Phineas on, who produced his sister and also is an artist.
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
And part of his brilliance is just his simplicity of using words that are so impactful when you hear them, but seem so simple. And to see a guy he's 21, digging in that deep. I was like, yo, man, what?
Yeah.
I need to know about your life. Like,
my God, totally.
But I look forward to you going there, because I think you'll go there. It takes a certain craft to be able to go there in a way that we get it.
Right.
You know, there's a balance between going there is one thing, and then doing it in a way where we get it is. And I think in the LIZZO, because I was going to ask you, in the LIZZO phenomena, besides her embracing the sort of body positive thing and being that person, and then also what you guys music tell people and so on and so forth, that's what happens when you move people, right? When you connect in a way that's bigger than self.
Right. And I also want to follow up and say that I saw Phineas when I was driving through Silver Lake the other day, and I wanted to roll down my window and just, I wanted to be like, hey, I
love you. Right.
You're great.
Right. Because you guys record kind of in the same neighborhood.
We're definitely nearby each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've never met, but I wanted to scream out his brilliance at him, but I chickened out. I rolled down the window, didn't scream.
I'll scream.
I'm just not that guy.
Well,
I got nominated.
Oh, he's nominated too.
I know.
Yeah, we're in the.
You guys are plenty nominated.
We're in the club right now. Yeah.
What's on the bucket list? When the doors open, you got to be kind of more selective, right?
Boy, I mean, you know, it's really exciting about everything going on right now so LIZZO is signed to my label, Nice Life,
right?
Yeah.
You did Pussy Riot too, as well, right?
Yeah, we did an EP with Pussy Riot. And we have.
Why do I feel weird saying that?
Because I got in trouble for saying it.
Yeah, but you're an HR nightmare, so I have license.
I think that the front person's in town right now. She's great. They're great. No, but we are just really ramping up the operations at the label, and I've had probably more people than I can count on two hands look at me and say, "You're a producer trying to start a label, like, good luck." Many have tried and many have failed. I'm happily accepting the challenge, and really the bucket list is like getting to the point where if I'm working with somebody who's not on my label, it's just because they're a dear friend. But I've made too many records and then watched big buildings put together marketing plans and videos and things where I'm like,
what the hell
are we doing? If I'm being honest. So it feels really, really good to have a label where we can actually have a strong hand in the way these things are rolled out. And some of the things I produce and some of the things I don't.
There you go.
Because it's not all right for me.
That's right. That's exactly right. Absolutely. All right. So we have to go back and have a little bit of fun with you, because Batter's Box is
oh boy,
Always good. You got that good Bay Area
Should
tradition.
I stretch?
Yeah, a little bit. Because I think I saw Dave back doing jumping jacks or something.
Put your jock in place. This one's coming hard.
Wait, let's just focus in on that. You put your jock in place.
You said HR nightmare already.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure where you're
I
going
left
with
a
that.
clean spot for an edit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Make that note, team. All right, so batter's box is up.
Okay.
Dave, you pitch, and Ricky will swing.
All right, wait. So I know. Just whatever comes.
Yeah.
Word, thought.
And try and be inventive. There's a lot of people coming before you that were better. So just keep that in mind while you're
Yeah, no
trying
pressure.
to beat me.
No anxiety.
Let's see what happens.
You perform well with anxiety. So let's
Virtual synths.
Wait, what?
Virtual synthesizers.
Sad.
Writer's block.
Can I clarify?
Great answer.
Let's save it for the end. Let's save it for the
Okay.
end.
Okay.
Well, I'll come back.
I mean, like,
Okay, I'll come back to them.
yeah.
Bridges. The bridges in a song.
Oh, I got so excited. I thought you were talking about bridges.
And I thought you were
That was
going to
be
say
my
Leon.
ICP moment. I was going to say, how are
Let's
they
do
made?
both. Let's do both.
How are they made? And bridges in songs, a bridge should be the part that my mom or dad says, this is my favorite part. I love
that.
bridges.
Okay, pick one. 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s music.
72 to 74.
And now man,
That's very specific.
showing off.
E40.
A little bit.
Melodies.
Lyrics.
Lyrics.
Explain at the end.
Okay. Favorite tempo, BPM.
Oh, 96.
Loops.
Love.
Writer's block.
Literally, solar plexus is like flaring, like actual anxiety when you said that. Yeah.
808s.
Oh, just warmth, happiness.
If you were stranded on a desert island that had electricity and it's a make-believe island and you can carry whatever you want and use it there, what piece of gear would you carry?
My brand new Electron Rhythm Mark II, my drum machine.
Wow.
It's my whole world right now. I love it deeply.
So now we got to go back and hear about why virtual synths are sad.
Okay. That's what I wanted to say. Because we're really going train of thought here. They are not sad. Like people who make them are not. The instruments are not. People who use them are not. But the reason that popped up with me is that when I'm cranking in the studio and I'm like really blocked and I can't get an idea and I'm trying all these things. I've used all my toys and the last thing I'll do before I go home is I'll fire up some virtual synths just to start going through things and see if it'll solve the problem. And it usually doesn't. And it's more about me than the instrument. So it's the fact that usually when I pull those up, it's the end of a long, sad day and I'm about to go home feeling defeated.
What instrument?
That's the idea.
I got it.
What instrument do you pull up to create with?
Which ones do I pull up?
Keyboard.
Virtual synths?
No, I mean anything.
For inspiration, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I like the Chat Lombardi. Is the things I was telling you about, those wooden kind of like atonal instruments.
Yeah.
Folk Tech, similar idea. I have a Kiwi 6, a Poly 6 with the MIDI mod.
A chord?
Yep. That I love.
That was the first synth I ever played with.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a synth I wasn't
when we get
expecting
together,
to buy.
I'll play you a couple of songs I did with it with a band that I
Please.
had. Yeah.
And then I have a big rack of old Emu rack stuff, the Planet Fat, all that
The
early
different colored
90s
ones.
modeling stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like crazy about those right now, but I like running those through those. And what's the one? The Tasty Chips GR1. It's a granular synth.
That must be new.
Yeah, I think it was like a Kickstarter thing or something, but it's a granular synthesizer that you can load your own samples into and use it. like basically turn your own samples into these like granular synth patches. And that one has also been one of my big ones as of late. I used to be this vintage guy, and now everything I have is like shiny and metallic. Right now.
Do you play anything other than keyboards?
Yeah.
What other instruments?
I play guitar and bass I think is sort of my, aside from Pro Tools and drum machines, is kind of my first instrument.
Okay.
I just got a Sadowski bass, my first active pickup bass in my life, and I am obsessed with it. Elizondo actually.
Oh,
Did it?
yeah.
I was like, what am I missing? He was like,
This.
you need a 5-string active
Mike-
pickup bass, buddy.
Mike knows.
Yeah, whatever he said.
He knows.
What do you listen to? Do you get away from music and listen to things? Is it visual stuff? Is it?
I love white noise.
I hear you.
I do. I love white noise. I love white noise, fan noise.
That's the funny thing I've
Absolutely.
heard in 400 and something episodes. I listen to white noise. Now I know. I was going to tease you about the therapist thing, but man, no, I don't have to.
No, you know I'm really screwed up.
Yeah.
I listen to white noise and I listen to Charlie Brown Christmas on vinyl with my
There you
daughter.
go. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really all I got outside of the studio.
That could be the best answer ever.
No, I think that's phenomenal. But essentially, you got to give yourself a break.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also lucky that the place where I work out, they just play like, I think they play like Rap Caviar on loop. So that's the other primary listening that I do. It's just those things.
The predicate to the question was, because you like loops and there's hip hop stuff that's in the sort of DNA of your music, was wondering how much you keep up and stay abreast and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Do you do it a lot or just let it hit you when it hits you?
I do it a fair amount. I mean, I get a lot of it from, just sort of being out in the world, but I do try to check up on things and like find some new favorites. But yeah, I mean, I'm so excited when I'm in the car to just like listen to the latest bounces of whatever I'm working on. I just like don't give myself any time. And I listen to the news a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That'll get you away from
I got my podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is maybe not fair to say as you get ready to take us home, but we had you on earlier, and it's like watching one of your own grow and just continue to be so, excuse me for taking that liberty, but we couldn't be more proud of not only what you've done, but what you've remained being. That is a real testament to how you do this when success happens and how you handle it when success happens. You don't lose your humanity. You're supposed to gain some.
Right.
And sort of get balance and stuff like that. So kudos to you, man.
That's one of the kindest things anyone's ever said to me, what you've remained being. I really appreciate that.
Well, it is certainly true.
That's amazing.
And it's why this show is your favorite, correct?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We do a lot of white noise.
We do a
A
lot
t-shirt?
of white noise too. That's actually Dave's nickname.
White noise.
So white,
I like it.
white noise, why don't you take us home?
Okay. I'm going to do something a little different. I watched a video in preparation for the show. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe Ricky can help us out. But he was showing pretty much exactly his creative process without trying to. He received a demo and he cherry-picked elements of that demo and created Truth Hurts with that. And like we talked about the two bars in the intro of that particular demo using that. And then when he wanted something to elevate the chorus, he went in and got cherry-picked some other things. And that I found that impressive as a songwriter, and it made me want to be a songwriter, which I'm not a very good songwriter. I'm not really a songwriter. But watch that video. You remember the name of it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was a Genius.
It was.
It was a Genius. Video.
Yeah. Check that video out because I think those few minutes are a lesson in songwriting that you won't get anyplace else. Brilliant.
By the way,
Thank you.
Who mixes your records? Different folks, or
It's basically Manny or me.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm more or less. I've worked with a couple of really great mixers and have just met a few new, younger ones. I'm always looking for more people, especially with an expanding roster. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But my flow with Manny is just a flow.
Yeah, when it works, it
Gotta
really
flow.
Talk
works.
Dirty is still one of my favorite songs ever.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.